everyone. Welcome to the Empowered CPA. I'm Dawn Scott, your host. In true Dawn fashion, I met this lovely lady, Ashley, in the lobby while coming in to record. Ashley is a jewelry designer and my target demographic, so I invited her to come on and chat a little bit about her history, kind of what she's gone through with her CPAs and her experience, and things that she thinks that we could chat about that would make artist's life so much easier, and things that, be aware of and things to consider, and just anything that you could glean from her that would make your life and your experience better than hers. Welcome.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you for doing this. This is, when I heard you were doing this a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I can't wait to talk to her.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, me too.
So tell me a little bit about your background and what you do for joy, or what you do for work, or, kind of your journey.
Yeah. So I have my jewelry business, which is somewhat on the side. It's had a lot of success. I'm working as a producer also on the side, but kind of been, my mom got sick in the pandemic, so I've been taking care of her. But I came, before I started my business, I really mostly came from a sales background. So I wasn't just, I don't want to say that I was just always, I hadn't always just been a jewelry designer. I actually first was in business. I was first a salesperson and discovered jewelry making along the way, and saw that I had a knack for it and had people knocking on my door. So I was like, this is so much easier. I don't have to hit the pavement every day. So started my own company, went to New York City. I've been all over the world for it, Fashion Week in Paris and all that. So
amazing. So tell me, as a business owner, I would assume you didn't start your own business thinking that I'm so pumped about doing accounting and tax. Did you have any background in the accounting or the business side of your jewelry business before you started?
No, I did not. Other than when I was an admin and I was helping our accountants for the real estate firm that I worked at. So, it was, just really their support. I just was supporting them really. So I really didn't know much about finance or accounting or taxes. I was always fiscally responsible, but it was pretty much Greek to me.
Did you, in any of your time, find a way that helped you kind of understand that better, or do you feel like it was start to finish kind of a cloudy, kind of muddy process? Yeah,
it was a pretty cloudy, muddy process. I would talk a lot to other entrepreneurs and what they were doing. They would give me different tips. I spent so much money on business coaching that it's hard to say whether or not that really brought up my bottom line or not, if it was really worth it. When I say a lot, I've spent like tens of thousands of dollars, and a lot of it was on coaching on accounting and taxes. That's what we're artists, we tend to lack there.
Did you find that there was ever a template or anything that you were able to take from those coaching that really made a difference, or was it more of just kind of chatting and taking as much from as many different sources as possible to try to connect something that worked for your business? Yeah,
I never necessarily came across a template that I could just plug it in and this fixed everything. I would say I guess two things that I kind of still look back, or right now I use QuickBooks Self-Employed. And with the level I'm at, I guess that's fine for now, but I would also like to know how to grow my revenue, make this more profitable. And, learn how to cut some of my expenses, and, had also, like I said, I had spent some money on business coaching, particularly with Tony Robbins, had a whole section just on finance and accounting. And that was the way they broke it down, I think that was very helpful. But I could have just sat down maybe with a friend who's an accountant who could have just explained that to me in 20 minutes. So
a phone a friend is sometimes just, I describe it a lot of times with my clients that in the beginning, a lot of times in our relationship, we're more involved, right? You have so many questions from your prior experiences that we need to get you to some sort of center where all of the information you've been told, we kind of weed through that and say, this is proper, this is not proper, so let's put that to the side, and then we'll work from what we should be doing, and we take that and then we build your foundation from there. So a lot of times, it is a little overwhelming because it is more expensive in the beginning, because it is more cumbersome in the beginning. And that is a very scary, from a financial perspective.
It's the scariest part of it is is the money. It's
and a lot of times people come to me and 1 year goes by and they say they don't file their taxes. And then I'm going to do it. Right. And then year 2 comes around and it's like, well, I haven't done last year yet. And if I go to an accountant, they're going to judge me because I did it last year. And so then I just kind of stick my head in the sand. And then you get some letter in the mail, and that letter is like, I'm going to take your house, and it says seize on it, and it's like, I'm going to go to jail, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, when I start working with a new client, especially one who's had those type of experiences, it's important to say, I always start with, no matter what I'm about to hear from you, I've probably heard worse. Like, we take a really big breath.
Yeah.
Because I know what it's like to be uncomfortable. So I try to empathize with my client that this isn't where you want to be. And I know that I'm probably not who you want to be with right now. And I'm going to make this as comfortable for you as possible, because you're sharing your world with me. You're sharing your bank statements with me. You're sharing, I haven't filed my taxes in 3 years. And it's important to know that you're not the only one.
Yeah.
You're not going to be the last one. And generally speaking, unless you're like really fraudulent and awful, you're not going to go to jail. So, like, starting there. And I even have some clients who've been with me for years, and we start every single call with a really deep breath. And then they pause for a second. We breathe again. And then I'm like, okay, are we ready? Like, how do you feel? Are you okay?
Yeah.
And just understanding and finding someone who understands that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to wear a suit every day. I don't have to be that guy or gal in the top corner office. Like, my skill set comes from there, but I can give it to people I want to spend my time with, artists, that type.
Yeah.
And I can do it in a way that is comfortable for everybody and give you the tools you need to run your business and make you feel like you understand. And it's just such a different approach to my industry. And it has been so rewarding for me.
Yeah, I love that, because as creators, we want to be able to focus on that. And what holds me back a lot of the time is cash, is the cash flow. And even, one of my advisors who's a lawyer and a CPA, he says, the only reason you're stuck where you are is because you couldn't raise the money that you needed.
Right. So, a big thing, especially in an industry like yours where you have inventory, right? You have to carry a certain amount of stock. Otherwise, somebody can place an order, you don't have it, they move on to someone else. So cash flow projections is a huge thing.
Yep.
Identifying when are your busy seasons. Do you have busy seasons, or is it pretty steady through the year? Do you have what you need to make that inventory? Is your inventory turning at a pace that you're ensuring that things aren't just sitting around? So you have money tied up in inventory that isn't going anywhere. Identifying those things in a place of calm while things are okay, before your bank account is like inching towards like the place we don't want it to be. What does that look like from like a year standpoint? Or sometimes we start smaller, like 6 months or 3 months, but knowing where those pitfalls are going to be and identifying them before it's like crisis is better for your heart and your soul and your emotional well-being.
I know. I probably, my stress with it, I probably lost 10 pounds when I was in New York. I was so stressed out, and like, it was awful.
Right. So, the toll from anything financial, right? Like, we internalize that so much, and then we feel shame around that. And shame is this crazy thing where unless you have an amazing inner circle, that shame stays with you. And then that also prohibits you from finding somebody. And then not having the money to find somebody prohibits you from finding somebody. So it really is this cycle where I see what could have been fixed at an appropriate price level turns into 3 years. And then that dollar figure is like,
and then
awful.
Before you know it, years have gone by and you have a great product or service and it is just sitting there on the side and you're miserable. And I've been there. And I started a podcast too. People say, I even said this on my podcast, why I stopped talking about my business for years, because I was ashamed.
Shame is, I feel everybody feels shame, and everybody, projects their shame differently. And it really takes into all parts of your life, right? And your sleep and your eating and your relationships with people. And a lot of times it roots from money, and everybody's parameters around money, everyone's experiences are different. And I have some clients who I don't know how they pay their mortgage, but they do, and they're so happy, and every day is like the best day of their life. And then I have other clients who have more money than I think anyone could spend, and every day is just fear. And sitting down and talking to everybody when they come in, it's like, well, don't tell my mom, but like, what's a shitload of money to you? Because a shitload of money to me is a totally different number than what it is to you. And identifying that, and, seeing what that budget needs to look like to get to where your goal is, because not everyone wants to be huge, right? Some people want to stay within.
Right. What are your goals?
Right. So
let's work from there. Let's work backwards.
Exactly. It's like we were talking earlier, before we started recording, and you said you started saying yes to everything. So identifying, this is what my ideal business looks like. This would be the ideal amount of product I would set out. And then anytime something comes into you as an opportunity, does it fit in my parameters? Is it going to make me do things that make me abandon other things that bring me joy? And just really cautiously and cognitively evaluating kind of what you're doing to make sure that you're really staying where you want to be. And, your goals can change from time to time based on, where you are in life or what experiences are happening to you at the time. But just having that foundation when things are good and you're not in like chaos, really keeps it clear, and reevaluating that at a pace that's comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, I can so much, I could go on. I mean, I could write a book, what I went through with my business with not having, healthy balance sheets. I mean, to give an example, as a designer, I was getting invited to show at Milan Fashion Week, London Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week, New York Fashion Week. And I had to say no. And I was in New York City waiting tables. I remember even the day I had a contract with the Today Show. I was waiting tables the day I signed that contract, and nothing ever happened with it. I couldn't even push that forward enough because I was just so exhausted from waiting tables every day. And here I am, like, getting all this recognition literally all over the world, and I'm stuck waiting tables.
Which, probably added to some shame and added to some, uncertainty with, what are you doing? But we all have rent to pay or a mortgage or kids.
I mean, but when it comes down to basics, right? You're like, well, I gotta put this aside. I gotta keep the roof over my head and put food on the table. And it was what it got down to, unfortunately.
So was that towards kind of the end of your time up in New York? Or?
Yeah. And that was when I put my place up and went and lived on a boat.
Tell me about living on a boat. I need to know.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, if you do it in California, get ready to clean up seal poop.
Oh, the seals.
They're so vile. They're so vile. No, living on a boat is pretty cool. I was pretty scared the first couple of weeks. I wouldn't sleep in the cabin. You have to fill up the boat. It's like camping. You have to fill up the boat with water every day with a hose, and showering in the onshore facilities in Marina Del Rey is nicer.
Amazing.
Is nicer. Like in the cabin, it's very dark in there. I couldn't really like see myself in the shower. I was like, what is going? You're just like in this dark little cave. like.
So while you were living on this magical boat, did you work outside the boat? Did you take that time to reflect? Kind of what was your experience while living on the boat?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun in a way, grilling food on the swim deck with my friends. But I was there and I'm like, I just remember being like, how did I get here? What did I do wrong? And everyone thinks it's so cool, thought it was cool when I would tell them like, yeah, I live on a boat in LA, wherever. But I'm like, no, but the reason why I'm there is what I don't want to talk about. Here's another example. Bloomingdale's came to me and asked me to design a collection for them, and I'm on the boat designing the collection. I guess they ended up not taking it, whatever, but I guess it was a special part of the entrepreneur journey, and we all get there at some point where we're living out of our car or in someone's basement or something. So I was like, I guess this is what I signed up for, but did it have to be that way? I mean, I think everyone thought I was this like rich and famous jewelry designer when I have Bloomingdale's calling me and Milan Fashion Week calling me, and I'm like, oh no, I'm below deck on a boat. cleaning up seal poop.
So how did you transition from that?
Was pretty difficult because that was right before the pandemic. I guess I worked so hard, started waiting tables again, got myself out of that debt from showing at Fashion Week, from having my own shop, which was, both of those were like such incredible opportunities. It was so much fun. It was like, those were the good old days, but then it's like I got punished or something for spending too much money. Like, oh, you're in trouble now. Like, but I got myself out of it and ended up living in a beautiful home on the Venice Canal. So it was kind of this like magical experience. Like, okay, I got myself out of it, but it wasn't because I was selling a lot of jewelry. It was because I was just working, doing things that didn't help my jewelry business at all. It was just to feed myself. And
do you think that now, from your place where you sit now, what would have to occur for you to consider going down that road again? Or is that kind of something that is so trauma filled that
the road of doing the jewelry full time again?
Right. And would you do it the same way, meaning a shop, or would you do it more online? What does that look like?
Yeah. So, I just had always remembered when I started this is that I can't give up. Right. So I was just like, gotta believe. So I have been coming back to it. Like the past year was tough for the pandemic and my, stuff with my mom. And I'm just now starting to come back to where I'm like, okay, things are starting to get better again. Putting more of my business out there, thinking about a new collection and just like trying to hold on to those moments when it was so it was so magical, like being in Fashion Week or turning on the TV and some celebrities wearing your stuff. I mean, it was cool. It's
amazing.
It's a cool thing. Yeah. It was a cool experience. I was like, I just can't let that go. But yeah, in a way I had to like get through that trauma of having an unhealthy balance sheet.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the conversations I have with my clients in similar positions is entrepreneurship is this crazy roller coaster, right? And I say things like the highest highs, the highs you feel during your entrepreneurial journey are the highest you'll ever feel in your life. And the lowest lows are the exact opposite of that. And it is a feeling that none of us are immune from. Myself included. And it's just part of the experience, right? If we all knew exactly what we were doing every step of the way, there's no fun in that, right?
Yeah. I think that's the fun part of entrepreneurship, right? Is you're jumping into something you don't really know how it's going to go.
There's no guarantees, right? It's, it's what makes or breaks people, right? I think that's why entrepreneurs last max 5 years on average, most fail.
I remember 5 years ago, my advisor saying, he's talking about like, I don't know, like the cap table, wherever, if I have
or whatever. We'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about the cap table later. He's talking about the cap table, wherever. And he's saying like, oh yeah, ownership should be, once you get investors, whatever, ownership should be divvied up this way. Blah, blah, blah. He's like, in case you ever go crazy. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm not going to go crazy. I'm like, this is so much fun. Like I was in People magazine yesterday. Like and then you go through it and you're like, oh, I see what you mean now.
Yeah. Because you lose sight and you get so excited. And I was recently published in NASDAQ, which was amazing. I literally, I opened up and I saw my face on there and then I closed it back down and then I opened it back up and it was still there. And I peered next to my husband and I was like, hey, can I show you something? In complete disbelief, like my face is on this, right? And it's one of those things, right? Like that is addictive. That is a drug. Mm-hmm. That is, who can I share this with? Like, how can I get more of this? And that's really where setting your intentions and saying like, these are my goals. This is the lifestyle I want to live. This is what my business should look like to fit in there, and keeping to that, because you can do crazy stuff and you can find yourself in some trouble. And it's another part of having a village around you, right? Like I am not creative. We talked about that earlier. Accountants should not be creative people, should not be creative. And so I live vicariously through all my clients. They all produce these beautiful things and each one is very different and it tells their story. But it's important to know what you're good at, your time constraints, and then finding your village to build in around you, because none of us can do this by ourselves. And you may save like for my field, you may save on not paying your accountant to do your taxes, but man, when that IRS comes knocking and they give you a bill that may or may not be true, it's probably worth it in the long run to work with someone who understands what's going on and can keep you and guide you. And it's part of your village.
Yeah. So I say, you said you're not creative. I do think you're creative. I do think you're creative because you're creating this.
Which I'm very excited about.
Yeah. Because it's always, but you to be creative. To be a creator, you have to be creative. So you're creating something. And I know a lot of artists and a lot of entrepreneurs who could really use some help.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really the goal, right? Is to have conversations like this where I say, and it's a vulnerable thing for you. And I appreciate you like opening up to me, especially because we just met in the lobby. Serious. But it's important to have those relationships. And I tell people all the time when I'm doing discovery calls with a potential new client, I can be the best CPA in the entire world, which, I mean, you never know. But if you're scared of me, you don't want to call me or you don't want to email me or you're afraid to ask me something, I am no good to you.
Yeah.
So it's important, no matter who you choose in your village, that you feel comfortable and you trust them and their ethical compass lines up with your ethical compass, because we all have a different compass. And just knowing that every single profession that joins your village should be someone that helps you, has your best interest in mind, is approachable to you, and you feel comfortable with. Because, like I said, if you're scared of me, I'm no good to you.
Yeah. Well, and I've been down that road too with
scary CPAs.
Yeah, with a scary CPA who ran up a bill on me that I didn't know existed. Sued me, took me to court. I had
Also
to go
scary.
fight him. Yep. This CPA was the one who raised his hand to go into arbitration. But, so we settled, but that was very scary for me as just an artist. And he humiliated me in front of the arbitrator, saying things like, oh, you started you don't know what you're doing. You started your business on credit cards. And I was like, well, if there's a will, there's a way. And guess what? That's how Nike founder did it too. The founder of Nike did it too. So it's like, I didn't need that. I didn't need that negativity in my life. I was like, excuse me, like I'm being featured in all these things and they're doing a story on me. I'm like,
I'm important.
What's like, yeah, I did it. I had too much credit card debt, too many credit card bills for my business. But did you know me 5 years before? No, I had carried no debt. I had a perfect credit score. So come on.
Right.
It's like, it seems like I felt like that guy was just kind of hunting out.
Predatory.
He was predatory, and my advisors all thought this, I'd say like loosely called him whatever, but they were all like, sounds like this is what he does. Is right. He seeks out female artists who don't know what they're doing and sues them in a courthouse, in a county they've never stepped foot in, and assumes that they're not going to show up. But I showed up.
So, I mean, I think that's, the artist community is a small community, right? There's so many different segments of it, but in general, it's a small community. And I think that's accounting is one piece that is really missing from that. And I find I get a lot of referrals from my artist clients because it's like, well, you're approachable and you're this and I trust you. So let me bring you my entire crew, right? Because it is hard to find. I mean, it's the same with lawyers or artists. You find, I have a huge problem, we'll call it a problem, with pottery. I love handmade pottery. It is my poor husband. It's a problem. And it's required furniture. It's a problem. But, everybody finds their and their thing and finding those people and keeping those people, right? And it's a huge part of the journey, but I think it's a part of the journey that nobody thinks about when they're first starting, right? I mean, you probably didn't think about, I probably had to file a tax return at some point.
Yeah, no, and I was always, before starting a business, I was responsible with my taxes. I think what I wasn't thinking about was myself, is that I needed to take care of myself while I was running this business. I was putting myself second.
Right. And even things like taking care of yourself, like how do you pay yourself, right? Like,
Yeah, I basically wasn't.
right. Or even how do I do it right? Like, what does that mean at tax time? What is this debt actually costing me? Like, is this the best source, or does somebody know a better source? Or do I need investors? Because that's a huge, that's a big topic lately. Like, oh, investors. But
Yeah.
if you don't need investors, why are you giving away your company?
Right.
Right. So there's so much more that needs to be talked about before, you get too far into any of this, just to make sure you, the person, are protected from a financial perspective, from a liability. Like, we need a lawyer in your village. There's also cool lawyers out there.
Yeah.
We can find them. And just ensuring that every part of that is taken care of so you can focus on why you started your business, right? Designing jewelry, getting in all these huge publications, getting invited to all these things, making sure that your foundation is set and it's running properly allows you to free up your emotional, time and your physical time to really grow your business.
Yeah. So you don't have to turn off that part of the machine you're building. If suddenly you stop, let's say you turn off the sales channel, or you turn off the publicity, or you turn off like the Saturday market that you do every weekend, or, I would do a lot of things with influencers and celebrities. If I turn off like the influencer partnerships, or like, you don't want to turn off any part of a machine that is already working.
Exactly. And you also don't want your personal like energy to be affected, right? Because if you show up to a meeting, an important meeting, and your energy is somewhere else, like, my energy is over here with this guy who's doing these things that I don't think are right, your energy is not going to feel right in your current environment. So you're not going to be you, the whole you. And so guarding that, I think, is a huge part of having this all together. I think anyone who says that, accounting and taxes only, like some debits and some credits and some QuickBooks and a bank account, is missing such a big part of all of it. I mean, that's like a small part, I feel like, of what actually we do.
Yeah.
We do therapy a lot.
Yeah, and so it's like you sound kind of like a massage therapist with some really good bedside manner,
right?
And
maybe some cocktails when we're done, maybe some coffee from a really pretty mug.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's really what I hope this whole experience and this whole podcast really centers around is where have we been? What was amazing about it? What can we take forward? But also what happened that maybe wasn't ideal, and how can we fix that, or how can we address that, or how can we make some process that helps more people and gets the word out and makes this a conversation that doesn't require a 20-minute meditation before we talk, right? And just knowing that there are people that appreciate emotional connections and all of those things within a space that is traditionally very square and black and proper.
And we can just focus on what we're put here to do,
Absolutely.
If I could only focus on designing new jewelry, working, on the creative content for marketing, things that I like to work on for my business. I haven't, this shouldn't, I say that I spend less than 1% of my time designing jewelry. If I could spend 100% of my time designing jewelry, I mean, the last time I even designed a collection was over 3 years ago, because I haven't been able to. And what if there was 2 collections a year for the past 3 years?
Absolutely. Or what if we have a check-in in a couple months and you and I kind of work on some stuff, and maybe we'll regroup in a couple months, see where you're at.
Right. Yeah. And I'm like, it sounds good. Sounds great. I'd be like, I can't wait.
Yeah. I mean,
what do I do?
I think we do that. I think
what's my plan? What do I do?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's commit to sitting down and putting down on paper where you've been, where you are, and where you want to be. And let's do that. For 6 months. Let's do 6. Let's do 6 months.
Okay.
6 months a date.
Yeah.
I'll bring some pottery.
I'll bring jewelry.
Perfect. Yeah. And let's
photo
talk
shoot.
through. Let's do that.
We could put jewelry on the pottery.
We're in. Let's do that. Let's do 6 months. So that's June. Let's regroup.
Perfect. Yeah. It starts tomorrow's the last day of the year. I guess by the time,
Happy New Year,
by the time
everyone.
I don't know what day this is going up, but
It's Thursday today, I think, guys.
Yeah. It's that the week between Christmas and New Year's. You're like, I don't know what day it is, who I am,
Why I'm here, What are we doing? Nobody knows. Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Yeah.
6 months.
Okay, good. Well, so how do people find you if someone, is interested in talk to you? Like, what is the name of your, can you tell everyone how to find you?
Absolutely, everyone. I have the Empowered CPA. TheEmpoweredCPA.com is where you can find us on the web. You'll find, in addition to the podcast links and all of that kind of information, you'll find digital content that will help you with templates and videos and any of that kind of content, to where if you just need an answer to something, it's probably there. And then from there, it'll link back to my actual accounting practice. So if you wanted more one-on-one type things, there's a link through there as well to my full-blown CPA firm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can't wait to tell my artist friends about you.
We're also on Instagram and Facebook. I have the most incredible staff who helps me with that.
Oh, awesome.
That is not my part of my village. I have some village to take care of that.
Oh, good.
Not my strong suit.
Good. Yeah. Like you said, we got to focus on what you're here to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You need your village for sure.
Yep. And those numbers.
Yeah.
I know. Gotta love the numbers.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, it has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today. You can find us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere you enjoy listening.